All right, so in this video, we're going to be looking at conditions on a vector with one unknown component to see what the condition is that makes the vectors dependent or independent. So the best way to go about doing this is to put our vectors into a matrix and then go ahead and row reduce the matrix. Now, this is not something that we can do in our TI calculators if we have one, because the calculator can't handle the unknowns. So we'll have to do this by hand. So 1, -3, 4, and -6, 8, 7, and 4, -2, and H. All right, so let's think about how can we row reduce this matrix. So I'm going to take 3 times R1 plus R2, and I'm going to put it back in R2. And then I'm going to take -4R1 plus R3, and then put that back in R3. So let's see what happens when we do that. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus -3 is 0. And 3 times -6 is -18. So that's going to give me -18, and 8 is going to give me -10. And then if I do 3 times 4 is going to give me 12, and -2 is going to give me +10. And then down here, I'm going to multiply 1 by -4. -4 and 4 is going to give me 0. -6 by -4 is going to give me 24. 24 and 7 is going to give me 31. A little bit excessive there. And then -4 by 4 is going to give me -16. And so if I add that to H, I'm going to get H minus 16. Or -16 plus H, however you want to write that. Then I'm going to divide out my 10 in my second row here. Divide out by -10. That's going to give me 1 and -1. And then I'm going to use that 1 to get rid of that 1. And so that's going to give me -31 R2 plus R3 goes back to R3. So 1 times -31 is -31, plus +31 is going to get me 0. But then -1 times -31 is going to give me +31. Adding that to this one, 31 plus -16 is going to give me +15. So for the system to be dependent, this cannot, to be independent, this H plus 15 cannot be 0. So if H plus 15 equals 0, the vectors are dependent because there would be a free variable in that third column. There would be no pivot. Therefore, for any H not equal to -15, the vectors are independent. Now, if this was an augmented matrix and not a set of three vectors, of course, you would require this to be 0 for the system to be consistent. Otherwise, it would be inconsistent. But in this particular case, we're just looking to see if the set of vectors are dependent or independent. So they're all basically coefficients in our augmented homogeneous system, and therefore this is allowed to be non-zero, and then that makes the vectors independent. Now, occasionally, you may be able to spot conditions for dependency by inspection, but most of the time, that's not going to be the case if you have, especially if you have more than two vectors. So it's usually easier to just go ahead and do the row reducing and then get your condition this way.